The late afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of my home office, casting golden stripes across my oak desk. I sipped my black coffee, savoring its bitterness, as my daughter Emily's voice chirped through the phone speaker. At 27, she still had that same spark in her tone that used to light up my world when she was a little girl, twirling in her pink dresses and begging for one more bedtime story. But today, something in her excitement felt hollow. "Dad, you won't believe how gorgeous this place is," Emily gushed. "The penthouse suite at the Seaside Palms in Naples has this insane balcony overlooking the Gulf of Mexico. I swear you can see dolphins from the bedroom window." I set my mug down and leaned back in my leather chair, the creak of it grounding me. "That sounds incredible, sweetheart. Which resort did you say?" "Seaside Palms, Dad. It's like paradise. Tomorrow we're doing a private yacht tour, and then there's this Michelin star restaurant we booked for dinner. The chef trained in Florence." My pen tapped rhythmically against the desk. Naples, Florida, a place Emily had mentioned wanting to visit since she was a teenager. "Sounds like you and Jason are treating yourselves. How much is this trip running you?" A pause, so brief it might have gone unnoticed if I hadn't spent 27 years learning her tells. "Oh, we've been saving up. Jason got that commission from his freelance work, and I've been putting in extra hours at the gallery." I straightened, my eyes narrowing. Jason's freelance work was sporadic graphic design gigs that barely covered his rent, and Emily's job at the art gallery paid just enough for her to splurge on lattes and designer handbags. "That's great to hear, Emily. You two have been so responsible." "Yeah, well, we wanted to do something big for our engagement anniversary," she said, her voice a touch too bright. I glanced at my calendar. "Your engagement was in March, wasn't it? This is August." Another pause, longer this time. "I meant our dating anniversary, Dad, when we first got together. You're being so weird about this. Can't I just be excited?" The defensive edge in her voice hit me like a cold gust. This was my daughter, the girl who used to crawl into my lap and confess to sneaking cookies before dinner. Now she was dodging questions with a sharpness that felt foreign. "Of course you can, sweetheart. I'm just impressed you've saved up for a penthouse suite, yacht tours, fine dining. That's got to be, what, 15,000 for the week?" "It's not that much, Dad," she snapped. "God, you make it sound like we're reckless." "I'm not criticizing, Emily. I'm proud you're managing your finances so well." My tone stayed calm, but my gut twisted. "When do you leave?" "We're heading to the airport in an hour. I've got to pack. I'll send you pictures, okay? Have a great time, sweetheart. Love you." "Love you too." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, the silence louder than her words. Emily's nervous laugh when she mentioned Jason's commission, the way she stumbled over the anniversary excuse, the quick subject change when I pressed about money, it all pointed to something I didn't want to believe. I opened my laptop, my fingers hesitating over the keyboard before I logged into my bank's website. The login screen appeared, and I entered my credentials, already dreading what I'd find. The account summary loaded, and there it was, a string of charges that made my chest tighten. American Airlines, 2,300, dated yesterday. Seaside Palms Resort, 10,800. Prestige Yacht Charters, 1,500. Bella Vita Dining, 600. I grabbed my calculator, though I didn't need it to confirm the total, 15,200. Almost exactly the figure I'd thrown out in jest. These charges were on my Visa card, the one I'd given Emily for emergencies 4 years ago after she'd tearfully promised to use it only with my permission. I'd trusted her, stopped checking the statements because she was my daughter, my little girl. But the evidence was undeniable. Emily was stealing from me. 3 days later, I sat in my office, a cold cup of coffee beside me, staring at the same bank statements I'd been combing through for hours. The morning light was soft, but it did nothing to warm the chill in my bones. What had started as a routine check had turned into a grim excavation of betrayal. I highlighted each unauthorized charge: flights, hotel, yacht, dining, even a spa treatment for $450. The total was 15,200, just as I'd feared. My phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Having the best time ever. The penthouse is unreal. Check out this view." Attached was a photo of her and Jason on a balcony, the turquoise Gulf sparkling behind them. I screenshot the message, then dialed her number. "Hey, Dad," she answered after 3 rings, her voice bright with the hum of vacation bliss. "What's up?" "Hi, sweetheart. How's Naples treating you?" "Oh my God, it's amazing. We just got back from the yacht tour. The water is so clear you can see fish swimming below. And tonight, we're hitting that restaurant I told you about." "That sounds wonderful," I said, clicking through to the next bank statement. "I'm glad you're enjoying yourselves." "Emily, I need to ask you something." "Sure, what's up?" "Are you using my credit card for this trip?" Silence. 4 seconds exactly, I counted. "What?" "No, Dad, of course not. I told you we saved up." "Are you sure? Because I'm looking at my visa statement, and there are charges for your flights, your hotel, even the yacht tour you just mentioned." That's impossible," she stammered. "Maybe someone hacked your card. You should call the bank right now." Her voice had that rehearsed smoothness I'd heard from clients trying to cover up mistakes. "I'm sure that's what happened," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "I'll call them immediately." "Thanks for letting me know it wasn't you." "Of course, Dad. I'd never do that. You know I'd ask if I needed help." "I know you would. Enjoy your trip." "Thanks, Dad." "Love you." "Love you too." I hung up and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. She'd lied without hesitation, spinning a story about card theft with the same ease she used to charm her way through life. My daughter, my pride and joy, had become someone I barely recognized. That evening, I sat in my study, surrounded by old photo albums I hadn't touched in years. The worn covers creaked as I opened them, revealing snapshots of a life I'd built for my children. Here was Emily at 6, beaming beside her first pony, a gift that had cost me a month's overtime. Another page showed her at 17, posing with the Audi she'd begged for, not the practical Toyota I'd suggested. That car had cost $35,000. She'd crashed it within a year. Then her college graduation from Vanderbilt, $170,000 for tuition, room and board, not counting the extra year she took to find herself after switching majors twice. I flipped to another album, this one filled with pictures of my son, Daniel. At his high school graduation, he stood proud in a second-hand suit, having worked nights at a hardware store to save for community college. His car, a 12-year-old Subaru, was bought with his own savings. He'd asked for my help only twice, once for a $1,500 loan for car repairs, repaid in 6 weeks, and once for a $2,000 deposit on his first apartment, also repaid promptly. The contrast was stark. I opened my laptop and pulled up a spreadsheet I'd started after discovering Emily's charges. Over the past 5 years, I'd given her $320,000 college, cars, rent assistance, a $40,000 trust fund she'd spent in a year. Daniel's total, $4,500, every cent repaid. I closed the laptop and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet cul-de-sac. I'd built this life for my children, but only one had learned the value of it. By 10 p.m., I was back at my desk, Emily's Instagram stories playing on my phone. Naples, here we come. Blessed showed her and Jason in first-class seats, clinking champagne glasses. Another post, living my best life in the penthouse. Daddy's girl. The hashtag made my stomach churn. At 11:30 p.m., her story updated with a photo of city lights from the plane. Can't wait to see our suite. I waited 20 minutes, then began making calls. First, Seaside Palms Resort. Good evening, this is Marcus. How may I assist you? I need to cancel a reservation for the penthouse suite under Emily Carter, checking in tomorrow. It was booked with my credit card without authorization. I understand, sir. I see the reservation. There's a 48-hour cancellation policy, so the full amount is non-refundable. That's fine. Cancel it. Next, Prestige Yacht Charters. We can offer a $50 refund due to the short notice. Proceed with the cancellation. Bella Vita Dining, the spa, the airport shuttle, each call was the same. Polite, professional, and final. By 1 a.m., every luxury Emily had booked was gone. I logged into my Visa account, navigated to the authorized users, and removed Emily Carter. The confirmation email arrived as I poured myself a glass of bourbon. I went to bed feeling lighter than I had in weeks. My phone woke me at 6:15 a.m. with Emily's name on the caller ID. I let it ring. By 8 a.m., I had 12 missed calls and a string of texts. Dad, what's going on? The hotel says our reservation was cancelled. I made coffee, opened the blinds, and sat down to read the morning paper. At 8:45, she called again. Morning, sweetheart, I answered, my voice calm. You're up early. Dad, her tone was sharp, were you having issues with your credit card yesterday? No, why? When we got to the hotel, they said there was a payment problem. The reservation was cancelled. That's odd, I said, stirring my coffee. My card's fine, let me check it. I drove to the ATM, taking my time, and called her back 20 minutes later. All good here, Emily. Maybe it was a glitch at the hotel. Silence. Yeah, maybe. By 10 a.m., her voice was frantic. Dad, everything's falling apart. The hotel, the yacht, the restaurant all cancelled. They said the card holder called last night. That's terrible. Did they say who? They said it was you, but that's impossible because we paid for everything ourselves. I set my mug down. Of course, I remember you saying you saved up. We did, she insisted. So why would they think you cancelled? Where are you staying now? Some gross motel by the freeway. The AC is broken and the sheets are disgusting. I'm so sorry, Emily. Inside, I marveled at how thoroughly her plans had unraveled. Dad, you didn't. You wouldn't have. Wouldn't have what? Nothing. But I heard the suspicion in her voice. Actually, I need to ask you something. Did you cancel our reservations? The question hung between us. I took a slow breath. Yes, I did. What? She gasped. Why would you do that? Because you booked it all with my credit card, Emily. $15,200 in unauthorized charges. That's theft. It wasn't theft. I was going to pay you back. With what? Your 10-an-hour gallery job, Jason's freelance gigs. We have savings. No, you have my money, stolen money. Dad, you're being ridiculous. It's family money. You've always helped me out. Being my daughter doesn't give you the right to steal from me. The line went dead. I spent the next hour digging deeper into my visa statements. The vacation wasn't a one-off. January 412 at a boutique in Miami. December 600 at a spa in Atlanta. November 200 for a weekend getaway at a luxury hotel. The total over 6 months was $22,800. Each charge was accompanied by lie dinners, paid by friends, trips covered by savings. My daughter had been robbing me blind while smiling to my face. That evening, I opened Instagram. Emily's stories were a shock. A shaky video showed a dingy motel room. This is where my father forced me to stay after sabotaging my dream vacation. Another post, her face tear-streaked. When your own dad ruins your happiness to control you. Toxic parents. A text post followed. Growing up with a father who uses money to manipulate you leaves scars. He promised love but delivered control. Narcissistic parent. Comments flooded in. Cut him off. Sue him for emotional abuse. You're so strong for sharing this. She'd turned her theft into a public campaign against me, painting me as a monster. I closed the app, my hands trembling. If Emily wanted to play the victim, she was about to learn what consequences really meant. The next morning, I sat in the office of my lawyer, Sarah Mitchell, with a folder of bank statements and screenshots of Emily's Instagram posts. Sarah, who'd handled my business contracts for a decade, scanned the documents, her expression darkening. Daniel, this is extensive, she said. Unauthorized charges, public defamation, and now she's framing you as abusive for stopping her theft. I want her removed from my will and her trust fund reassigned to Daniel, I said, sliding the papers across her desk. It's $150,000, set to vest on her 28th birthday. I want it to go to my son instead. Sarah leaned back. Are you sure? These changes are permanent. Family dynamics can shift with time. She stole $22,800, Sarah. Then she lied about it and publicly accused me of abuse. How much more proof do I need? She nodded. The trust fund change requires a 30-day notice to all beneficiaries. The will can be updated immediately. She'll be notified of both. Good. I want her to understand what her actions cost her. 2 hours later, I left with a signed will and trust modification papers. Emily's name was gone from my legacy. Daniel, who'd never asked for more than he'd earned, would inherit what I'd worked for. I called him that afternoon. Dad, what's going on? Daniel asked, his voice cautious. I'm transferring Emily's trust fund to you and removing her from my will. She's been stealing from me $22,800 over 6 months. He was silent for a long moment. That's a lot to process. Are you sure about this? I've never been more certain. You've earned it, Daniel. She hasn't. A week later, I mailed the trust modification notice to Emily's apartment. The call came the next day at 3:12 p.m. What is this? Emily's voice was raw with anger. You're taking my trust fund. It was never yours, Emily. It was a gift I could revoke. You stole from me, lied about it, and then slandered me online. You can't do this. Jason and I were going to use that money for a house. Plans made with stolen money don't tend to work out. We're coming over, she said. We're talking about this in person. 20 minutes later, my doorbell rang. Emily stood on my porch, eyes red, with Jason looming behind her, his face tight with anger. You can't take her money, Jason growled, stepping inside without invitation. This is my house, Jason, and it was never her money. Emily clutched the legal papers, tears streaming. Dad, I'm sorry. I'll pay you back. Please don't do this. With what? You don't even have a full-time job. Jason stepped closer. Fix this, or you'll regret it. Are you threatening me? I pulled out my phone. Mrs. Larson's outside watering her flowers. Should I call her over? Jason froze, then backed off. Emily shot me a look of pure betrayal. This isn't over, she said as they left. 3 weeks later, I was served with a lawsuit. Emily Carter versus Daniel Carter, claims of financial abuse, emotional distress, and intentional harm. She was seeking $200,000 in damages, alleging I'd controlled her life with money and sabotaged her happiness. The accusations were a twisted version of reality, every act of generosity reframed as manipulation. Sarah was unfazed. This is a weak case, Daniel. Your documentation, bank statements, cancelled checks, her own admissions proves you've been nothing but generous. Her social media posts undermine her credibility. This won't hold up. As I organized my defense, a text arrived from an unknown number. It was Emily. Dad, I dropped the lawsuit. Jason pushed me into it, but we're done now. I've been thinking a lot these past weeks. I stole from you. I lied. I convinced myself it was okay because you're my dad, but that's not how family works. You raised me better. I'm working full-time now, living on my own, trying to figure out who I am without Jason or your support. It's hard, but I needed it. I'm not asking for forgiveness or money. I just want you to know I understand what I did wrong. I love you, and I hope someday we can talk again. I read the message 4 times, searching for manipulation. It felt genuine, but trust was a fragile thing. I set the phone down without replying. If Emily was truly changing, she'd prove it with actions, not words. For now, I'd wait. The trust fund stayed with Daniel, and my will remained unchanged. Time would reveal whether this was a new beginning or another lie. Character count, 24,800, approximate excluding this note. Let me know if you'd like further tweaks or additional details.